Welcome back to the channel and a new course. This is Huntington Sound, which is now published and ready for play in PGA 23. Now for this one, I was delighted to have Pithy Dr. G's help in creating the plot, and for more on that, please see the routing video that I'll link below. Dan created an awesome plot inspired by NGLA and Maidstone, which are two courses on Long Island that I've got a huge appreciation for. With both of them, they combine some really cool duneland area as well as a lot of flatter land, which allows for low profile golf. And with this course, I think it's some of my best work in combining those flatter, lower profile holes with the wilder holes that run across the dune line. You play all the way out, then all the way back and through the dunes. And I think one thing I'm happiest with is that the flatter holes don't feel dwarfed or kind of diminished against the dune holes. So in this video, we're going to play through or look at each hole. This is every hole at Huntington Sound. I'm a firm believer in the opening tee shot and the opening hole really setting a tone for the course, and the first at Huntington Sound, a short par 4, really sets the tone with a tee shot that prompts a decision. Do you try to carry the bunker long with driver, lay up to the flatter portion of the fairway, play out right? There's no one real correct answer, but each has its own merits and brings different areas of risk and reward in approaching a very heavily contoured but quite large green. The second, coming off the back of that short par 4, is a long 520 yard par 4, and this is our road hole. With this one, you're trying to carry the bunkers on the right hand side, playing as close to the out of bounds with the road as possible, which will give you an infinitely better angle into this green. The further left you play, the more the land's going to carry your ball away and bring that road hole bunker, that nasty little pot, right into play with the approach shot. There's a lot of green to work with, but the greedier you get, the more disastrous the results can be. The third hole is our cape, and this is an interesting hole because you've got bunkers cutting all the way across the landing zone, pushing you ever closer to the water. The more you take on that water off the tee, the better a looking you get into the green, whereas if you lay back, then it becomes a 3-shot hole. The green itself is quite small, and as is true with all capes, it juts out into this bunker complex surrounding the green. It's a small but very heavily contoured green. When the pin is front like this, you've got quite a receptive area to play into, but on those back plateaus, there's a lot of small landing zones. Arguably the toughest tee shot on the course, the fourth is our narrows, and the closer you play back towards that out of bounds, the better angle you get into this green. However, bunkers constrain the tee shot, and you may choose to lay up, and there's a little hog's back spine just running down the left hand side that really complicates matters a little further. The green itself, pretty heavily contoured and quite a large one. This one favours an approach from the left hand side, but you want to be as close as possible to allow yourself the best possible distance control. The fifth is our Eden, and from the moment I found this hole in the routing process, I knew this was going to be a cornerstone. It has a beautiful place and it sets up really nicely. The green itself, heavily back to front, and you don't want to be long of this pin or any pins on this green. Ideally, leaving the ball short with a mid to long iron. At 649 yards, the long is aptly named, and the sixth hole is a true 3-shot par 5. Now, if you choose to go down the left-hand side, you bring a better angle into attacking the second shot, but there's a lot more risk involved, and if you hit the bunkers, you're definitely pitching out or laying up. If you go down the right, you can still clear that Hell's Half-Acre hazard, but it's tricky and you might want to be positioning your layup in one of the areas you've got. If you carry on to the far end, then you've got a little running pitch towards this green benched into the dunes and our first hole entering into that dune land. The short par 4 7th is our 11 template. Now with this one, you want to be playing as far right as you can and as long as you can to open up the green, but obviously that brings the water into play. You can challenge that bunker on the left hand side, but that will leave a blind pitch over a big dune, which leads to a green that runs away from you. So playing out right is by far the better option, but you may want to consider laying up to a full wedge as well. The 8th hole is the first of our non-template holes, nicknamed Maidstone for the hole the same number at that course. It's a short par 3 benched into the dunes with a cool green that features a number of tricky pin positions, and it's one of the holes where there's little else to it other than hit the ball close and stop it. The short par 4 9th is drivable in the right conditions, but whether you want to go for it is a different matter entirely. It snakes its way through the dunes, and plays up to this green right on the side of the beach, and you can certainly find your way down there. However, beware of the bunker on the left, nicknamed Canuck's Folly, for his 4 attempts to get out of this bunker. It's a short hole, but one fraught with danger. The 10th is the double plateau, and it's a mid-length par 4 that differs significantly on where you play the tee shot. The tee shot's uncluttered. You can play out to the right and lay up safe, or take on the driver down the left-hand side to leave a shorter approach into this green. The green features 2 distinct plateaus, and actually the friendliest position is the one shown here, with an ability to run the ball down to this pin or use the backstop on the left-hand side. There's a shelf back left that houses one pin, which is particularly tricky. The 11th is based on arguably the most copied hole of all time, the Redan, and this one is pretty simple in its concept, if subtle in execution. The aim is to play the ball off the kicker slope and control trajectory, so that wherever you land it on there, it will roll out to a slightly different location. It requires real control of ball flight and is a very testing par 3, probably the toughest on the course. The 12th is the Knoll, and whilst it's a short par 3, again the tee shot's fraught with danger. The ideal shot is playing a 3-wood down the left-hand side, which leaves a good wedge into this green, but you can take driver down the middle, and hitting it really well will guarantee just a pitch shot into this green. But you want to be careful of that fall off on the right-hand side, and this tiny green requires careful control, so you definitely want to be on the fairway. You certainly don't want to be ending up in the little pimple bunker down on the right-hand side. The 13th is the Alps hole, and this version plays as a par 5. Whilst the tee shot is interesting and you'll want to skirt the bunkers on the right hand side for a decent lie and an approach to this green, it's really the approach that makes this hole. Significantly uphill, around 30 feet up, you have to decide whether you're going for it, whether you can make it over the hidden bunkers at the front, and if not, where you're laying up, whether it be the island fairway on the top or out to the left. The green itself is pretty receptive once you get up there, so there's definitely reward for going for it, but it's a perilous shot if you miss. 14 is our bottle hole, and this one offers a choice between distance or direction. If you play down the left hand side over the little pot bunker, you get a better angle into the green. If you play down the right hand side, you can go longer and you can cut off that bunker in the middle of the fairway. The green itself is the biggest on the course and features some interesting undulations that has a number of different pin positions with different challenges. Do not go long. In our final visit back to the windmill, the 15th is not a strict template hole, but there's an element of prize dogleg and a tiny little island green surrounded by bunkers on all sides. You can choose where you lay up, and you're going to face an awkward shot into a small target from a difficult stance. The aim is really where do you put yourself in your best position to control that wedge shot, because finding a precise target slightly below the pin is a must. The 16th is our final par 3, and it's a bit of a parachute downhill shot testing your control of elevation change on a one-shot hole. Now with this one, you want to find the correct part of the green, and there's a helpful little bowl at the front, but one big ridge cutting in from the left-hand side. The more precise you can be, the better. The long par 4 punch bowl 17th probably affords the widest fairway on the course. However, there's distinct spots you want to be in, with 3 little punch bowls on this hole. The first 2, similar to NGLA, fall off either side of the fairway. The more central you are, the better look you have at the green, with an easier stance. From there, it's about hitting a long iron or wood through that little gap and bouncing it down towards the green. The place you don't want to be is that little coffin bunker on the right, which can afford tricky recovery shots. The closing hole at Huntington Sound is a reachable and the shortest of the par 5s, however it does play distinctly uphill and offers a big decision off the tee. Do you hug the right hand side for a shorter, better look at the green, or do you play out left from where you're playing more towards the dune ridge on your second shot? That second shot is all uphill, and it's about controlling the line of your shot as much as it is the length. The green itself is quite deep, but has a distinct fall off on the left hand side. If you go right, it's not out of bounds, but it is a very challenging recovery shot. And that's every hole at Huntington Sound. It is a very strategic course, but one that I think you'll find is playable in pretty much all conditions and will offer different challenges based on the pin set you choose and the wind you find. My favourite part about the routing is the way it intertwines those 3 areas, from meadowland to duneland and then the areas by the water, each giving slightly different looks and challenges. And whilst the duneland holes provide most of the drama, You'll find a lot of the interesting golf as well on flatter land, and they're some of the holes that I'd say I'm the most proud of. As ever, thank you very much for watching. Let me know how your rounds go in the comments below, and see you again soon.